Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi, my loves! It's Destin Choice, and you're watching Choice TV. Now, for today's video, I really want to come on here and have a conversation about this word right here that causes a lot of controversy. The word cultural appropriation has been around for a very, very long time. For some reason, people have the ideology that this is just some new word, or people making stuff up, or people just have an ideology that the word cultural appropriation is only from liberals and leftists who are upset and outraged and want to be upset about nothing, or it comes from Twitter trolls who just want to be upset about nothing and cancel people for nothing. But let's be very clear. I've met some people who have said, oh, well, why can't I wear my mini buns? Because I have a friend who's black and she said it was okay. But you kind of have to remember that not all cultures speak for everybody else. So just because one person deemed it as okay, that doesn't mean that it gives you the right to willingly use someone else's culture without educating yourself and using it in ignorance and in order to profit off of compliments or likes on social media.
First of all, dreads are not black. They were a sign of people not washing their hair. Dreadlocks were worn by the Vikings. It is not a black thing.
Almost racist. I think it's the opposite.
Racist. It's racist against white people.
No, it's racist against black people. What? They're jungle people that only wear giant fucking hoops in their ears?
Now, the word cultural appropriation has been around for a very long time, and it goes as far back as the 60s. I thought this video was necessary because cultural appropriation has been a prominent conversation all throughout social media ever since the rise of the internet. Rappers, singers, actors, models, sports teams, beverages, everyday items, and hell, even K-pop has been accused of cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation is really nothing new, and it's pretty much a stigma that's been attached to colonialism, racism, and privilege. So many celebrities from Beyonce to Trina to Pharrell to so many different people have been accused of cultural appropriation, and for some reason a lot of people don't normally talk about it, or they assume that you're just trying to be annoying if you're going to bring up the ideology and the whole conversation of cultural appropriation in general. Now, just because you don't think it's offensive, that doesn't mean other people aren't. Cultural appropriation is defined as the act of adopting elements of an outside, often oppressed culture, which includes knowledge, practices, symbols, makeup, hair, dress code. If you're one of those people who feel like cultural appropriation is justified and anybody can do it, let me ask you something else. How would you feel if people weren't standing for your flag? How would you feel if people were on their phone during your flag or during the pledge? Let's keep the same energy here.
The rest of it, like, you know, that's a prerequisite. You're supposed to try to be your best, but that doesn't guarantee any kind of success.
The first person I want to mention is Pharrell. Pharrell is a 47-year-old legendary songwriter, producer, and Pharrell is most notable for creating the group The Neptunes in 1994, and he's also credited for creating the rock band Nerd. And Pharrell's not really known for being problematic. But on June 4th, 2014, Pharrell received global backlash when he appeared on the cover of Elle magazine, and he appeared in a Native American headdress. In response to all the backlash, Pharrell said, "I respect and honor every kind of race, background, and culture. That's it." Now, also, let's address the fact that Pharrell has never identified as Native American, nor has he ever claimed his indigenous background.
Being African American.
Now, if you guys didn't know, Pharrell has always stood by being African American several times in numerous interviews, because most of his family is from the South. Now, not only that, most of Pharrell's family is also of Egyptian descent. But Pharrell has never really talked about his indigenous lineage until he was dragged for wearing a headdress. And I don't want anyone to sit up here and feel as though that just because Pharrell is immune from criticism just because he's 1% Native American. Because if you stand in your heritage, stand in it in all shades. Don't sit up here and say, oh wait, but I can do this. I can say this because I'm technically part Latino, or I can say this because technically my grandfather is black. No, we have to keep the same energy across all boards. And if you don't grow up claiming that particular culture in full force, don't use it for your own benefit just to be edgy or cool. And if you still don't agree, let's bring up the fact that people love to grill celebrities like Evelyn Lasagna from Basketball Wives. People like Evelyn Lasagna is constantly being grilled and dragged for saying the N-word, but yet when she goes and finds a DNA test and realizes that she's 1%, 5% African with a black great-grandfather, people still hold her accountable for using blackness as an aesthetic. But for those of y'all who aren't familiar with the history of a headdress, headdresses are often used as a means to award people who share the bloodline of that particular group. People often use headdresses as a way to reward, show respect to people who pay homage, pay their due diligence, and show respect to the particular tribe that they're a part of. And then Pharrell tried to do damage control by sitting down with another Native American and talking about a whole bunch of mushmouth.
Water, you'd say that in our language, midi-didi-ish.
Midi-didi-ish.
Yeah, in Heraza.
And the reason why is because when I'm near running water, that's when my faculties are the most clearest. That's when I think clearest. That's when my best verses.
So again, love Pharrell, but no.
Bring it back like a Gucci sidekick. Niggas play with me, nigga, you'll get hit with a hollow tip. I ain't tripping.
Mrs. V Nasty. 2012 hands down was the craziest year. Many rappers in particular that was seeing a lot of stardom were rappers like MGK, Krayshawn, Riff Raff, Yellow Wolf, and most notably V Nasty.
You feel me? Looking into V Nasty, cause I'm the realest out right now. You feel me? And we really putting on for this white girl mob shit. And these motherfuckers just is not ready though. And y'all fucking mad. And I'm fucking y'all minds up. Watch when I drop my album.
29-year-old Vanessa Reese, better known by her stage name V Nasty, is an American rapper from Oakland, California. She is best known for being a part of the white girl group White Girl Mob with the infamous Krayshawn and Little Debbie. The infamous V Nasty got her start in the music industry back in 2010 because at the time, her best friend, who's known as a rapper, Krayshawn, was a rapper and director.
I'm yelling free V Nasty.
V Nasty actually blew up on social media and popularity back in 2010 with her freestyles on Facebook and her freestyles on MySpace.
Hold up, man, I fucked up cause the beat just threw me off. But I come back like I'm cooking up some sauce, make it hard.
She was catching tons of mainstream attention and she formed the short-lived group White Girl Mob in 2011, which consisted of V Nasty, Little Debbie, and Krayshawn. V Nasty's career ended instantly when people on social media started to actively attack her and accuse her of having a fake black accent and also culture appropriating and using a black caricature as a way to profit and make mainstream attention.
You don't know where I'm from, you don't know how I was raised.
You were the first person kind of in hip-hop who was white, who was using the N-word and was actually standing behind it. You know what I mean?
Because I felt like it was something strong I should have stood behind because it's me.
This is what the room come with. Y'all wanna get drunk, nigga? Nigga, hold on, wait.
Bitch, you heard me.
Or a nigga.
You understand?
Or a nigga. It don't matter. Y'all don't even make my bitch hoe, nigga.
V Nasty, the rapper, thought it would be a good idea if she walked around with grills, large chains, baggy clothes, and perpetuated gang violence in her music in order to establish herself as a hip-hop artist.
You sleep, kill a nigga for no reason, like a homicide. Anytime I come through, then niggas know it's drama time.
Out here in Berkeley, what you doing, nigga?
She was known for being a quote-unquote wigger, and many people used that term and spammed her comments on Facebook and on Twitter in order to put her in her place for using blackness as an aesthetic and pretending to be a caricature of a black person. V Nasty not only generated millions of views for her style and her controversial personality, but she was also a target for mainstream headlines. People would not get the hell off her neck because of the simple fact that she would not get in her place and understand that she is a guest in hip-hop, and she wouldn't respect the simple fact that she is not black and she shouldn't feel entitled to an N-word pass just because she grew up in the hood.
Oh, why do you guys say nigga? Is it a fucking race? Am I offending people? Am I saying it in a disrespectful type of way? You feel me though? Y'all mad at that? Y'all need to be mad at this album about to drop on y'all ass in, you fucking haters. What the fuck? I'm just doing me. Don't be mad at me because I'm doing me. I'll be trying to change up my vocabulary because I'm on and I got out the hood. That's where I came up, you feel me? So y'all motherfuckers need to stop that hating ass shit. Start, you feel me, looking into V Nasty because I'm the realest out right now, you feel me? And we really putting on for this white girl mob shit. And these motherfuckers just is not ready though. And y'all fucking mad and I'm fucking y'all minds up. Watch when I drop my album. Watch when I drop my album.
Album gonna be mad nice. It's gonna be mad
nice. Watch when I drop that. Do I know you? Cause you hating on me, I don't even know you. So you're a nobody. Hello, duh.
V Nasty felt she was entitled to a pass just because she has a black baby daddy and just because she grew up in the hood. Now, I have no problem with people saying the N-word, but my problem is when people feel as though that they're entitled to use the word and they're upset when they get called out for it. Then things got a little bit worse. In 2012, as things started to get worse, people started finding a lot of old footage of V Nasty acting normal. And then when these videos went viral, things pretty much hit the fan.
Flying in the sky, getting real high off this purple wing. Cheers on sixes, they like me in Benzes. They want me to be their friends.
But I'm just saying though, like, you know, I respect motherfuckers who could respect me. I could see if you met me and I was like, oh hey, like, hey, how you doing? Then you could be like, that bitch should not be saying that. You feel me? Like, but you don't even know me. I don't front. I go in my mama's house and act just like this.
The videos perpetuated V Nasty using the same accent, but she wasn't ODing it like she is right here.
Flying in the sky, getting real high.
Now, although V Nasty grew up in the hood and she has a whole, demeanor based off of her environment, it was pretty questionable when you see those kind of videos and you see the fact that she's trying to rock the big chains and the double cups. It almost shows you that she's trying to put on in order to make it further in the industry, and that shock value is her main ticket to success. Hence why you don't really hear much about her now.
What's your opinion on like everybody like that was still mad at you about the whole N-word for like fiasco?
I didn't know how it was for other people, other places that was raised differently than me. So if you feel disrespected, like, no. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I feel disrespected too, so life goes on.
A lot of rappers pretty much stood by her, and rappers like Gucci Mane signed her back in 2012 and gave her $1 million when she signed to his record label 1017 Brick Squad. And he really signed her in hopes of making her the next big female rapper, because at the time, he was trying to find competition for people like Nicki Minaj. Then a month later, Gucci Mane released their first ever single together called Let's Get Faded, and they both released a collaboration album titled BITXH. Throughout the controversy, V Nasty, like I said before, promised to stop saying the N-word, but as of now, fast forward to 2020, that was technically a lie.
Like just, I don't even say the N-word no more in my music.
Crash for the money, hey. I take a nigga chain for the money. Bet a couple bands on the game for the money, hey. Niggas switch up on their game for the money.
And that's what happens when you give out N-word passes.
Be a bad apple in the bunch. Ever since my record went #1, everybody's got it, I'm a prime suspect to be picked on. And they're picking on me. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Now, anyone that grew up in the late 80s to early 90s, y'all remember that was an insane era. It was the era of the crack epidemic. It was the era where music was on the rise. And it was the era where hip-hop was on the rise. Now, if y'all think 6ix9ine is bad, you should have grew up in the late 80s to early 90s. You would have remembered an infamous name, Vanilla Ice. Now, a lot of you guys probably don't remember Vanilla Ice, considering that he's pretty irrelevant and he's really just a two-hit wonder. But here's a quick breakdown of who Vanilla Ice is and why he was accused of cultural appropriation. Vanilla Ice was born Robert Matthew Van Winkle, and he was born in the suburbs of Dallas, Texas. Keep that in mind. Vanilla Ice got his start in the hip-hop scene when he started breakdancing back in 1985 with his group Posse.
Aw, and your name?
Vanilla Ice, yeah, we rolling hard like a Sherman tank.
We're making and taking more
money than your bankers make. So all you girls stop.
Lying.
Girls stop. Vanilla Ice is selling and you people are
buying.
He got his nickname Vanilla because he was the only white boy in the group who could rap. Vanilla Ice adapted many parts of black culture, and apparently most of his inspirations were Rick James, Bobby Brown, and so many other people. So although Vanilla Ice did not grow up in a black area, he was heavily influenced by rap music. At only 16, Vanilla Ice wrote the notable classic that we all know to this day, Ice Ice Baby. The whole song is basically a broad depiction of gang violence and gun violence, and his experiences living in the hood. Hip-hop was predominantly a black imprint, because anyone that knows anything about hip-hop was created by black people. And as much as people love to say, well, anybody can rap, or anybody can rap, or rap is for everybody, it was created by black people. And unfortunately, many people don't like to give black people their credit for creating hip-hop.
That never, said, white boy can't make it in rap music. I, kiss my white, the rest. Like, you know, it's like, ha, right in your face, you know.
So this is a white rapper being suppressed kind of revenge.
The song Ice Ice Baby basically became a huge pop culture phenomenon and still to this day gets played. Everyone pretty much knows that song because it's been in many commercials as far as gun commercials, ice cream commercials, and in movies. Now, it sounds corny, but Vanilla Ice was seen as one of the pioneers of popularizing rap music back in the late 1980s to early 1990s. Now, although that sounds pretty insane to you, it was really the truth. Black people loved Vanilla Ice back in the late 80s to early 90s, and they couldn't get enough of him. They couldn't get enough of his controversial image. They looked at him as the hoodest white boy. He was invited to the cookout. Vanilla Ice created a huge imprint in black culture and in hip-hop culture. A lot of y'all don't even know this, but Vanilla Ice is legitimately the first ever rapper in history to get a #1 single on Billboard's Hot 100. And to make matters even worse, Vanilla Ice was actually the second ever rapper to get a Grammy. For a long time, the Grammys was dubbing hip-hop because you guys know hip-hop when it first started back in the 1980s was basically demonized. It was seen as a political statement against white people. But the minute a white boy comes on with a low fade, cat scratches in the back, and a hairstyle that resembles a flat top, all of a sudden, he makes history. He becomes the second ever rapper in history to win a Grammy. But his image started to go downhill. He may have been one of the highest rappers back in 1992 to 1993, but things started to go downhill because he started getting outed for who he really was. And his 15 minutes of fame was damn near over. Now, Vanilla Ice started to use a more hood dialect when people started to find out that he was lying about being from the streets. When news made headlines of Vanilla Ice faking his image, things started to get a lot worse, and Vanilla Ice wanted to clean up his image back in 1990, and he literally made the stupid mistake of going on the Arsenio Hall show.
They also said that, you know, I'm bringing rap music to an audience that has never heard it before as well. So, you know, whether I like it or not, it's bringing rap music up, you know. I mean, I'm putting it in front of people that never even considered listening to rap music.
Yeah.
And now they're considering it, and it's bringing rap music up. You know, rap music is here to stay.
I know a lot of black rappers are probably angry because some of the white people screaming didn't buy rap until you did it, until they saw a vanilla face on the cover of an album. That probably makes them angry because
if it makes them angry, you know, you're angry. It's not my fault. Did I have anything to do with that?
So
no.
They should dog the people.
What they're saying is they're showing their own jealousy, man. That's all it is. You saw Flavor Flav. You know, me and him, we're homies. Is
that why you brought him out, just to show you have a black supporter? And
no, I brought him out because he's a friend of mine. I'm not even proud about getting stabbed. I did get stabbed 5 times, almost died. Something I'm not proud about. I am from the streets, and if you can't see that I'm from the streets, then you're blind. Because the majority of white people, you know, cannot dance, and they don't have much rhythm.
Now, after that interview hit the airwaves, that interview went really downhill for Vanilla Ice. His black audience basically decided to boycott him, and pretty much they wanted to cancel him because of the disrespect to black culture, the fact that he wasn't giving credit to where it's due, and his shady antics were starting to catch up to him. After the Arsenio Hall show, many radio stations stopped playing his records, and many people even grilled his ass in the media about his fake facade and the fact that he kept using words like real and down to describe himself when that wasn't the case. In the middle of 1992, after people started boycotting his music career, Vanilla Ice sales started to go down, and he started battling with a lot of drugs and addiction because he was labeled a fraud, and many people in the music industry didn't want to work with him anymore. Vanilla Ice even lost street cred when news hit the public that Suge Knight forced Vanilla Ice to sign over a percentage of Ice Ice Baby. Because if y'all didn't know, Suge Knight was basically deemed as one of the scariest people in hip-hop at the time. Mind you, a lot of this happened in 1992.
First time I met Suge Knight was at a restaurant in LA called Palm Restaurant. And I was sitting there eating a nice meal, and all of a sudden these huge guys, looked like a football team, showed up. You know, it was very intimidating to see these guys. They were bigger than my bodyguards, you know, and a bunch of them. And they pretty much grabbed my bodyguard and pulled him out and sat down next to me right there and just started talking to me. How you doing?
Uninvited?
Totally uninvited. I didn't even know him.
See him again?
Sure did. Saw him again a few months later. He did the same thing, just kind of showed up to me, said hi, and then left. And still thinking, well, wow, this guy knows where I'm at all times. How does he know where I'm at? You know? What's going on here?
What was going on was the beginning of an effort by Suge Knight to get rich off Vanilla Ice's hit song. to get Van Winkle to sign over a percentage of the profits, or the points, to an associate of Suge Knight, who Knight claimed actually wrote the song. Knight told us, before he knew we had talked with Van Winkle, that it was all very friendly.
He agreed to everything. It wasn't a problem. And
wait, he agreed to everything?
I mean, you know, he said the guy wrote the song, and he didn't have a problem with it. He said
that's not what he says at all. I had my bodyguards who had guns, and they had their people which had guns, and they had us outpowered and outnumbered. Talking publicly about it for the first time, Van Winkle describes a terrifying night in his suite at a Beverly Hills hotel when he says Suge Knight showed up with 6 other men. Roughed one of my bodyguards up. They roughed everybody else in my whole entourage up. Suge took me out on the balcony, started talking to me personally. On the balcony? On the balcony. High above? Like 15 floors. He had me look over the edge, show me how high I was up there. Were you scared? I needed to wear a diaper on that day. I was very scared. On the balcony, Van Winkle says Suge Knight told him to sign over points from the song to a man named Mario Lavelle Johnson. Who is Mario Lavelle Johnson? His name is listed. That's the guy that Suge Knight brought over there that is an acquaintance of mine that had nothing to do with that song. You signed over the rights? Signed over the rights to him so that Suge and them could get paid for it. So Mario Lavelle Johnson didn't write that song? No way. How much were those points worth? About 4 million, 3 million, anywhere between there.
So then Vanilla Ice's career pretty much went downhill, and he pretty much took a very long 2-year break from the music industry. Until in 1994, early 1995, he decided to create a whole new image for himself. Vanilla Ice decided to create a whole image in the music industry to get his fans back. And he wore things like dreadlocks, baggy clothes, and he had black video vixens and black people as his props in order to profit off of hip-hop again, considering a lot of people were losing respect for him.
For somebody that's in their young 20s, that nobody can endure that kind of punishment.
In 1994, Ice took a chance on music again and began work on a new album called Mind Blowin'. It was a severe departure from his teeny bopper days. Ice was decked out in grunge clothes and dreadlocks. His music was dark and sinister, and riddled with references to violence and drugs.
Here it is, a dope hit. Ice Man's coming with a dope hit, cause a few suckers need a throat slit. Jealous cause I went multi-platinum. Now I'm gonna blast them in the head to the dead with my magnum.
The direction I want to stay with this album is, you know, true to hip-hop, because that's what the music is and that's what I'm into. And I realize that it's a culture, and that I realize that I'm a white guy doing it, but it still comes from my heart. This is me, and this is no image made up or anything. I want to give people me whether they like it or not.
But fans weren't buying the new Vanilla Ice, and when the album failed to break into the top 200, SBK Records dropped him from the label.
Now, after he got dragged to Field for that, and people started literally boycotting him and not wanting to play his record because he was being accused of being racist and being a cultural appropriator, things got worse, and he took an even longer break from the industry. So then he made a comeback in 2009, and if you guys didn't know, back in 2009, Vanilla Ice decided to go public, and he wanted to apologize to black people. Kinda.
I'm sorry. Even though Ice Ice Baby sold over 40 million copies worldwide, I have no excuses. Rob Van Winkle here. You might know me better as Vanilla Ice. I'm sorry for the hairdos, baggy pants, the scandals, the lies, the gangs, and I'm sorry about the music. I was young, manipulated, and I was a puppet.
Now, despite Vanilla Ice's apology, I mean, I guess I see where he was coming from, and I guess it's very interesting. But I love that Vanilla Ice straight up said that he was a puppet, because not many celebrities will admit that. Now, despite the fact that hip-hop can literally include everyone, and everyone's welcome to join and rap, and it's not exclusive to just one culture, considering that rap is a form of expression, it just goes to show you that when it comes to making it mainstream, and when it comes to getting anywhere in the industry, Hollywood and the music industry really has an agenda to get rid of black people. Because one thing that we all know is you can't get that anywhere else. Blackness, you can't find that anywhere else. So it's one of those things where you have to put on a particular people, but since the world hates black people so much, it's one of those things where they rather find someone with a white packaging and then fill them up with some black culture. And it just goes to show you that people really just love the aesthetic of being black. They love blackness. They just don't love it on black people.
Because this is so weird. I wonder what they want. I'm like, yeah, I wonder what they want for that much money.
Megan Thee Stallion. Now, I already know a lot of y'all going to be like, explain. A lot of y'all Megan stans are going to be ready to drag me. But Megan Thee Stallion really did cultural appropriate. Fast forward to now, Megan Thee Stallion is literally one of the hottest female rappers in the world. Now, if y'all didn't know, back in August of 2019, Megan Thee Stallion got called out for cultural appropriation. And let me explain how and why. Someone accused Megan Thee Stallion of appropriating Chola and Cholo culture. And a woman by the name of Indigo Dez called her out for appropriating Chola culture. And this was basically what the post said. So, Instagram model Indigo Dez decided to call Megan out back in August of 2019. And this is basically what she said. She said, see, what we not going to do is tolerate Chola or cultural appropriation. And then she followed that up by saying, black females are the first to scream cultural appropriation when a Latina tries to lay her baby hairs or braid her hair. I don't give a fuck if you white or black. If you don't experience or live that life, don't front like you about it. Now, here are the pictures if y'all haven't seen them. And as you can see, it depicts Megan wearing knee socks with Converse, long cargos with her boxes lifted, and the one button up. So as you guys can see, she kind of has a point here. Now, a lot of y'all might be reading that or might be seeing that and saying, that's such a reach, it's not that serious, or anybody can wear flannels. Shockingly, she actually made a good point. Once she called out Megan, a lot of people started dragging her ass. People were sending her death threats. It got really, really bad because people were not loving the fact that a Latina was coming for Megan. So a lot of people started dragging her and saying things like, oh, bitch, shut the fuck up. Latinos say the N-word, though, da-da-da. And honestly, I was pretty disgusted at all the backlash she got because she's actually right. And let me tell you why she's right. Some people were even saying things like, oh, I can get that at Forever 21. They sell outfits like that everywhere. She can do what she wants. Leave her alone. Just so much other stuff. Now, let's talk about how this is cultural appropriation and why this woman made a good point. Megan surprisingly didn't get much backlash because many people, in fact, are ignorant to what the Cholo and what Chola culture is in general. But people don't even realize that the whole term Chola, Cholo, when in actuality, it's a real thing. Chola and Cholo culture has nothing to do with black American culture. The term Cholo has a various amount of meanings all throughout Latin America, and it has a stigma attached to it that stems from racism, discriminatory, killings, death, indigenous people, and a lot of people don't even realize this, but Cholo and Chola culture is a movement that's still active to this day. So it's not just some trend that was popping in the 90s. It's not just some, random stereotype that a lot of people try to make up. It's an actual real thing. Originally, the phrase Cholo and Chola was created by European colonizers who raped, beat, and enslaved the indigenous people of Mexico, Peru, Bolivia, and many other people who are part of indigenous descent. The word Cholo is derived from the word Xoloitzcuintli. Xoloitzcuintli basically means a mixed dog breed, and the term was originally used as a slur to look down and shame and oppress the indigenous people because when European colonizers landed on their land that they were at first, a lot of them could not figure out what race they were or where they came from. Now, indigenous people were enslaved and eradicated and mistreated, and this term was given to them as a means to treat them badly and a means to label them because they were the furthest thing from white. Back in the 1930s to 1940s, during the Great Depression in America, Latinos who had indigenous ancestry came together as one and they participated in the infamous Zoot Suit Riot. Now, if y'all don't know what the Zoot Suit Riot is, it was basically a riot that led to the killings, the murders, and the oppression all across America who had indigenous roots. Throughout the Zoot Suit Riot in America, which a lot of people don't even talk about, it basically symbolized Cholos, Cholas, or Chicanos protesting the forceful injustices that white men in suit were putting them through. So many Latinos and Latinos who had indigenous roots and were connected to their indigenous roots used the fact that they wore baggy suits, oversized suits, oversized flannels, oversized jeans, and oversized clothes in general as a means to protest that they refuse to assimilate to white culture because white people were trying to erase them from history because, of course, colonizers know they did something bad, but of course, it's normally easy to run away from your problems and try to sweep them under the rug and hide them. They wore these baggy clothes to symbolize the fact that they were not going to assimilate. The Latinos straight up said, I'm not wearing a dress, I'm not wearing a skirt, I'm going to wear baggy pants, I'm going to do what the fuck I want. And the Latinos basically wore big baggy suits to make fun of the colonizers. But a lot of people don't talk about that. So I don't blame people for not knowing this, considering the simple fact of they don't really teach much about Native American history in textbooks. They don't teach much about black history either. But Native American history, indigenous history is literally wiped out. You can barely find it anywhere. So Chola attire, even still to this day, is a social and political movement that pays homage to indigenous people who protested and died just for the rights of their indigenous ancestors that are alive today. Hence why whenever you go out to the West Coast or any part of the world where Cholos or Cholas are seen, normally they're paying homage to their ancestors. Now, that's where that attire comes from. So Megan Thee Stallion wearing the knee socks, the chugs, with the one button-up flannel, though, just the one flannel up with the t-shirt and the, you know, the lip liner. It's just like it's a little too much. It's a little bit disrespectful to that particular culture. Now, I don't want anyone sitting up here saying, "Oh, well, who cares?" Because that's disrespectful. Because I don't want no one stepping into my space with ignorance to the culture and then feeling as though, oh, who cares? Anyone can do it. This goes as far back as the 1930s, the 1920s, as far as segregation amongst indigenous people and the disrespect that they face and the fact that people have pretty much wiped them out of history, and hence why a lot of y'all didn't even know this. Good examples of Chola and Cholo culture could be manicured baby hair, lowriders, and even teardrop tattoos. And Chola and Cholo culture even created the offspring of MS-13 and gangs like Latin King. And although in her defense, she might not have known, but then again, Kim Kardashian, Khloe Kardashian, they used the same excuse. Oh, I didn't know they were called boxer braids. Or I didn't know mini buns, aka Bantu knots, were exclusive and were popping, you know, amongst black people. I didn't know Bantu knots was a black hairstyle. You see where I'm coming from here? So just because Megan Thee Stallion doesn't know, it's still no excuse and she deserves to be held accountable. In her defense, though, she did delete the photos after the backlash, but then again, she didn't really need to, considering that a lot of people didn't really give her shit for it.
I'm like, bitch, that's my cookie, that's my juice, okay? Carry on.
Ariana Grande, the beautiful chocolate melanated queen. Let me stop. Ariana Grande is a 26-year-old American singer, songwriter, R&B vocalist, and she's a former actress. Ariana Grande made her debut as an actress on the show VULTURES when she was just 15 years old, really. And she later went on to pursue her music career. We all knew back in 2013, 2014, when she first started rising as an artist, we all knew Ariana Grande was honestly one of the biggest rising stars in the industry. She had soul, she had passion, she was gorgeous, and she's been, still to this day, incredibly talented. We all can't deny Ariana Grande's legacy and what she's done so far in this industry. Now, rarely anyone knows this, but Ariana Grande's last name isn't pronounced Grande. It's actually pronounced Ariana Grande.
My grandpa said Grandy.
So should we all be saying Grandy?
Well, my brother kind of changed it to Grande because, like, Grandy was kind of like the, like, I guess Americanized version of it, you know? Like, made it more, like, you know, chill, like, whatever. And then my brother was like, we should say Grande. It's so fun to, like, say it. It's, like, funny. It's, like, a funny name. And my grandpa, but I think of him and I grew up saying Grandy, and I think of my grandpa and I wish I said Grandy more.
A lot of y'all might even know this, but Ariana Grande is not Latina at all. She has no cultural ties to Latin America at all. Now, although she did address the correct spelling for her name and she never ran from it, she has constantly introduced herself since 2010 as Ariana Grande.
Hi guys, I'm Ariana Grande.
And I know some people are going to say, well, there's white Latinos and there's black Latinos and there's this Latino. Well, if you don't have cultural ties to Latin America, I think it's only right to avoid putting yourself into these spaces and allowing people to think that you're a part of these spaces. Then, of course, we cannot forget Ariana Grande's blackfishing. The fact that she's tan so much and she wears these yucky ponytails. It's no secret that Ariana Grande loves her spray tans. And as much as people love to make excuses for her and claim, Ariana Grande is Italian, some Italians turn dark, Italians are this, Italians are that. Look, let me just ask this question. Why did it take Ariana Grande transitioning into R&B and rap music for her to all of a sudden get some melanin in her skin? Why did she wait until she wanted to step into R&B and in rap to change her skin color? Seems a little bit ridiculous when you look at her 7 Rings music video and when you see her Thank You Next music video. A little bit peculiar. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've been a fan of Ariana Grande since 2009. Since 2009, since the beginning of Victorious, I've been a fan of Ariana Grande. She is an incredibly talented actress, but coming from someone who's been watching her for 10 years, watching her YouTube videos back in the day, seeing her interviews back in the day.
Light pink anyway, I love mixing it in there. Like, I love how Victoria's Secret always has the pink Santa hats. I think that's cute. Red, pink, green.
Hi guys, it's me, Ariana. I just wanted to let you guys know about a Broadway in South Africa.
When was that? I'm like, bitch, that's my cookie, that's my juice, okay?
Benefit concert that's happening this Monday, October 5th. And I will post the link as to where you guys can get tickets.
Carry on.
Yeah, this whole, well, Italians tan excuse is not really gonna fly. Especially when literally 4 years ago, she didn't look like that. She didn't look like that in her Focus music video. She didn't look like that in her damn Love Me Harder music video with The Weeknd. So why does she look like this now? Ariana Grande has not only been accused of adopting a quote-unquote black scent, but throughout the past 4 years, Ariana Grande has legit transitioned her entire style and tapped into R&B and rap elements with her new songs like Rule the World and 7 Rings. Mind you, Ariana Grande has a consistent team of black writers who are all known as black entertainers, such as Pharrell, Victoria Monet, Michael Foster, Tommy Brown. If you go back to look at her old writers from back in the day, since 2013, they're not the same writers that she has now. And some might even say, well, dark skin is not exclusive to black people, which is true. There are plenty of people who are mixed who have dark skin. There are plenty of people who live in India who have Asian descent who are dark skinned. There are plenty of people of all different backgrounds who are dark skinned, except for white people. But let's address the simple fact that although a lot of people might say that, you know, dark skin is not exclusive to black people, I see where you're coming from, but dark skin is still a culture even though it's not exclusive to black people. When it comes to dark skin, all dark skinned people are culturally tied because they share a certain experience. If I ask someone who was white, oh, have you ever been through colorism? They look at me and be like, the fuck is that? But if I ask a person who's dark skinned, what's your take on colorism and people treating you differently because of your dark skin tone, they likely look at me and be like, well, it'd be a long ass story. They'd go in. So realistically, although dark skin is not exclusive to one particular culture, people who are white, light skin, don't relate to a dark skinned person. And within itself, that whole stigma of how dark skinned people apparently are and allegedly act like, they all share the same experience to a certain extent, and for some reason there's a negative stigma that's attached to it. There's a stigma that's attached to being darker than your average. There's a stigma attached to a lot of skin tone. And then let's always address this. You know, people might say, well, technically R&B and rap music is open to all races. Didn't you say it's open to all races? It is. But let's address the fact that there's a lot of black artists who have barely been able to see mainstream success from making pop music. Let's address the fact that there have only been a few, 4 or 5 or 6, who are black, who have been able to transition into the pop world tremendously and excel, and then be nominated in a justified way for pop music. But yet, people like Sam Smith, Justin Bieber, and Ariana Grande can all be nominated for R&B awards. So they can be nominated for R&B awards, they can be on the R&B charts, but someone like Lil Nas X who makes a country song, he gets removed from the country charts because they don't feel like he has enough elements of country. I'm just saying. So you see where I'm coming from here? If only people allowed the same energy. So although you might say anyone can do that, or who cares what people do? Because until people keep the same energy, I'm always going to side-eye everything. Because people don't keep the same energy, and people are very picky, choosy about who they allow in certain spaces But of course, rap music and R&B music being a predominantly black ran race. Because we all know country music was originally created by black people, and pop music was originally created by black music, and so was rhythm and blues. But of course, no one wants to give black people their credit. But although a lot of people give black people their credit, it's kind of funny how other races can come into the spaces that were popularized that are still ran by black people, and they can swiftly do it and be deemed as exotic or be deemed as more admirable or be deemed as edgy. Iggy comes up with a big ass and she raps. She's so edgy, she's so dope, she's so cool, but let a dark-skinned girl be rapping like Iggy, all of a sudden it's ratchet, oh my god, like People can do as they please, but be ready to be held accountable and acknowledge that although you don't see it as a big deal, that doesn't mean that it's not. Real quick, Miley Cyrus is a good example. Miley Cyrus was able to profit off of the whole twerking epidemic. Oh, child, we all remember that. And although a lot of us were in love with Miley's image and some of us couldn't stand it and we thought it was annoying, isn't it a little bit interesting how people credited Miley Cyrus for making twerking popular? Bitch, people have been twerking at fucking family cookouts since I was fucking 4. And then Miley Cyrus is able to, 5 years later, say, I don't care to do rap music anymore. I just feel like that side is so degrading. And I just feel like that side is just so, misogynistic and overrated and just too much. Imagine being able to use blackness as an aesthetic, black culture in particular as an aesthetic, and then being able to dispose of it when you're done with it. So that's why outrage will continue when somebody comes into a space and they don't respect it and are fully educated about the history behind it. But don't get me wrong, I keep the same energy with Drake as well. Because, a lot of people love to say, Ariana Grande, she's not Hispanic, why is her last name Grande? But then, at the same time, will allow someone like Drake, who has no cultural ties to Latin America or any Spanish-speaking country at all. But yet, Drake can call himself Poppy and then make it his Instagram name, and he can profit off of it, make t-shirts off of it, and market himself as that in his song. And the same goes for Trina. Y'all know Trina. We all love Trina. But at the same time, Trina has been pretty much outed for lying about being Dominican and lying about being of Latin, Hispanic descent.
I was like, guys, Trina's half Dominican. I mean, that's it. So I was already yes.
My father
we could think that's it. So I was already yes.
My father
I was already yes.
In our family, we kind of like, we Indian too. We got mixed blood, but it's not that. I don't know where the hell she get that out, but...
I hope you guys enjoyed this video, because trust me when I tell you, there are many people who have been accused of cultural appropriation that I could talk about in this video. But of course, this video is long enough, so I figured, hey, fuck it, why not just give y'all a few? But if y'all want a part 2, please comment down below. Comment some other cultural appropriators that you know that should have been in this video. Comment some other videos y'all want to see, and just overall, let me know what y'all think. Let's debate, let's have a conversation. If you want to go in on me and drag me, I don't give a fuck. Cultural appropriation is cultural appropriation. Everyone needs to keep the same energy throughout all avenues. And although culture is deemed as something that should be shared and appreciated, and we all borrow from some people at some point, it's just a shame that some cultures are looked down upon for wearing their own culture, but when the other person does it, it seems as cool, hip, different. I'm just saying. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to be enjoying my dry-ass chicken breast and my Chardonnay, and yeah, that's that. Choice out this bitch.
Hey, about my age, girl. Age ain't nothing but a number. It ain't nothing but a number. You say about my age, girl. Now age ain't nothing but a number. It ain't nothing but a number. Hey, yeah. That's all you get for free. Make sure you guys check out my podcast. All you gotta do is just type in Time Out with Choice, and you'll find that shit. So yeah.